My dad threw me away for his new family, stopped paying child support and turned into a sexist conspiracy ranter. My mom forced me to keep visiting him anyway, and the stepdad I thought was my safe place turned out to be a cheater who thinks adopted kids are less lovable. Growing up, my dad and I were best friends. Every weekend we had a routine that felt sacred. We'd rent 5 Redbox movies, go fishing early in the morning, play soccer at the park, and sometimes sneak off to this little hidden playground near the zoo that felt like it belonged only to us. Those weekends were simple, but they meant everything to me. Another thing I grew up with was my dad cycling through girlfriends. None of them lasted longer than a couple of weeks. There was one woman he really loved who stayed for about 2 years, but she left when I was 10. Even then, my relationship with my dad didn't change. It was still us. That changed when I was 12. He met the woman who is now his wife. She had 2 kids, one older than me and one younger. After only 2 weeks, they moved into his apartment. My room was already small, but suddenly my tiny mattress and 3 plastic drawers were shoved into a corner to make room for the older daughter's bunk bed and dresser. Before long, my room became a closet. Sometimes when I visited, they forgot to even pull my mattress out. When my dad upgraded to a bigger house, I thought things might improve. They didn't. The older sister got her own room. I had to share with the younger one every weekend. My 3 drawers turned into one because she needed the others for toys. I started visiting less. Then his wife got pregnant. A year later, they got married, and I didn't even know until a month after the wedding. No invitation. No conversation. I also didn't find out my baby half-sister had been born until weeks after she was already home. To keep his new family happy, he started spoiling them. At the same time, he stopped paying child support to my mom. His wife doesn't work. She cooks, cleans, shops. Her older daughter's college is paid for by my dad. The younger one gets whatever she wants. My half-sister is still little, but already spoiled and never told no. Meanwhile, the routine I once had with my dad is dead. When I was younger, I once called my stepdad Dad. My biological father found out and told me I shouldn't love that man like a dad because he wasn't really my father. After that, I acted distant toward my stepdad for years, and I never understood why. He had never been anything but kind to me. Now I do understand. My dad planted that idea. Over time, I've grown closer to my stepdad. He feels like the father my birth dad should have tried to be. He supports my dreams. He brags about me. He calls me his daughter without hesitation. Meanwhile, my biological father treats me differently. When I visit, he rants about politics and conspiracy theories. Aliens. The government. He brags about his new business and his perfect family. If I try to talk about my life, he interrupts or shuts me down. It feels like he sees me as a buddy to vent to, not his daughter. I also learned the real reason he and my mom divorced wasn't incompatibility. He cheated on her while visiting family in Canada. I'm 15 now, and I'm nothing like the little girl he remembers. I don't love soccer or the beach anymore. I love music, reading, and writing. I've written and published 2 books since 2022 and I'm working on the 3rd in my series. Writing takes focus and peace, 2 things I don't get at his house. I go months without visiting now. The bed I sleep on there is considered the guest bed. That says everything. Whenever I don't visit for a while, he calls on Fridays asking when he should pick me up. He never asks in advance. He always calls during school hours. I don't answer, so he calls my mom. Usually I already have plans or I'm working on my writing. Recently, I've started calling him John in my head. He doesn't feel like Dad anymore. My mom insists I visit occasionally to keep him from taking things to court, even though he hasn't paid child support in over 2 years. Sometimes she calls him a deadbeat. Other times she says he's my loving father who deserves respect. It confuses me. One Christmas sums everything up. Weeks before the holiday, while I was visiting, he drove to Walmart so his wife could grocery shop. Before going in, he handed me $200 and said, "Merry Christmas. Buy yourself something. The rest can be child support or whatever." Or whatever. He bought piles of wrapped gifts for his new family that year. I bought 2 books. The rest of the money didn't even come close to what he actually owes. I once told my mom I'd be happier if John lost custody of me and my stepdad adopted me. I didn't say it to be dramatic. I said it because I meant it. She looked at me like I'd crossed a line and told me that was too extreme. "He's still your dad," she said. "He deserves your respect and love." But what about what I deserve? The last time I visited him made everything worse. John picked me up and spent the entire drive talking about his new family. The older stepsister and her boyfriend. The younger stepsister and her shopping trips. My half-sister, who can talk now and apparently says the cutest things. I barely said anything. When he finally asked about my school, I tried to tell him about a project I'm proud of. He cut me off halfway through and launched into one of his conspiracy theory rants about how schools are brainwashing kids. I just stared out the window after that. There was no point trying. At his house, nothing felt like it had space for me. The older sister locked herself in her room like she always does when I'm there, only coming out if I'm gone or in the bathroom. The younger sister had a friend sleeping over, and when I walked into my room, their stuff was all over my bed. Her friend was sitting on it like it belonged to her. Honestly, it kind of does. Alexa barely hid how annoyed she was that I showed up. She kept acting surprised, and I later realized John hadn't even told her I was coming. So she didn't get the chance to argue against it. Most of the weekend was spent at a playground for my half-sister. John would wander off to talk to other parents and leave me sitting on a bench trying to read. Every few minutes he'd call out, "Keep an eye on her." I'm 15. I didn't go there to be a free babysitter. I love kids, but that doesn't mean I want to spend my entire visit chasing around a fussy toddler who isn't my responsibility. By the time Sunday came, I felt drained. 2 days of feeling like a guest and unpaid childcare. When I got home, I told my mom I didn't want to go back anymore. She said she wouldn't force me, though I'm not fully sure that won't change. She sent John long texts telling him to step up and pay child support and to treat me better. He ignored her. So I wrote him a long message myself. I explained how I feel pushed aside. How it hurts that he doesn't pay child support but buys expensive things for my stepsisters. I tried to be honest without being cruel. He called immediately. Not to apologize. To yell. He said I'm spoiled and overdramatic. He said it's my fault we don't have a relationship because I never visit. When I mentioned the unpaid child support, he accused me of only reaching out for money. That broke something in me. I almost cried. I hung up. Later, he left a voicemail. Suddenly calm. Money's tight right now. I'm completely broke. But you know I love you, right? I don't believe that. I see the TikToks. The Sephora hauls. The new clothes. He isn't broke. He just doesn't prioritize me. Some people suggested asking my stepdad about adoption. I wanted that so badly. When I asked my mom again, she told me my stepdad doesn't feel like he should adopt me. That hurt more than I expected. He's kind and supportive, but hearing that made me feel like I don't fully belong anywhere. For context, my parents divorced because John cheated years ago. He jumped from girlfriend to girlfriend before meeting Alexa. When I was 12, he got her pregnant and married her without telling me until a month after their courthouse wedding. I'm 15. It feels ridiculous to carry this much stress at my age. I can't talk to my stepdad alone. He works constantly, and my mom is always around. I don't like opening up to her because she says I'm too young to feel this way. When I asked about therapy once, she said therapists are dumb and that I could just talk to her or pray. I'm not very religious, and talking to her about serious things makes me uncomfortable. John hasn't reached out since the voicemail. Third update, about a week and a half later. First, about my stepdad. I love him like a real father. In my heart, he is my dad, even if he doesn't want to adopt me. That still stings, but it doesn't change how I feel about him. The problem is, he's no help when it comes to therapy. He just agrees with whatever my mom says to avoid arguments. So when she says therapy is unnecessary, he nods along. Still, I'm okay right now. Actually, I think things might finally start getting better. I'm pretty sure my mom is going to file for sole custody and court-ordered child support. When my parents divorced, they handled custody and child support themselves. The agreement was simple. I'd spend weekends with my dad, and he'd pay $100 a week. Looking back, I think he only stuck to that deal to keep up appearances until he finished his U.S. legalization process. He used to be an immigrant from Canada. Once everything was finalized and he was legally settled here, the child support basically stopped. But the spending on his new family definitely didn't. Last weekend, I decided to go to his house one more time. My mom didn't force me. I chose to go because I wanted to give him one last chance. We didn't even make it down the street before we started fighting. I was excitedly telling him about a business idea, making curated book boxes with matching DIY necklaces and hand-painted bookmarks inspired by the book covers. I've been thinking about it for months. He immediately shut it down. Said it was stupid. Said it wouldn't be profitable. Said it would be a waste of time and money. It's an hour drive to his house. For that entire hour, he picked apart everything I said. If it wasn't politics, it was anger. If I mentioned college, like maybe wanting to apply to Harvard or the University of Chicago someday, he spiraled into a rant about dangerous immigrants in Chicago and how Harvard is overrated and only famous because rich people go there. At one point, I snapped. I told him he can't act superior toward immigrants when he was one not that long ago. I've never understood why he's so racist toward Hispanic people when both my mom and his current wife are Latinas. Instead of staying quiet like I usually do, I argued back. The entire weekend after that, he complained about my bad attitude. But the final breaking point wasn't politics. It was the rant he went on about women. I memoized what he said because it shocked me so much. He claimed 99% of women just want to latch onto rich men. That women are greedy and not loyal. That men don't like successful, independent women because they are prideful and bossy. That it's more important for a wife to respect her husband than for him to respect her.
That it's wrong for wives to earn more than their husbands.
Then he smiled at me and said, "But you're the exception, pretty girl."
I felt sick. He also said some of my friends don't count as real men because they are gay.
And he tried to tell me my summer volunteering opportunity in the Dominican Republic was a bad idea because the people there are different, even though that's where my mom's side of the family is from.
There was more. So much more. But that was enough. I texted everything he said to my mom. I asked her not to confront him about it, but she was furious. I think that was the final nail in the coffin for her.
This morning, she was searching the house for my birth certificate because she's wondering if she'll need it for court.
She wants full custody. She wants him to pay what he owes and back child support.
And honestly, that money would help a lot with college.
Update. My mom never took John to court.
After 3 days of non-stop screaming matches over the phone, insults, accusations, John ranting about how child support is a government scam, he sent her $200 just to shut her up. Now he sends that same amount randomly, like tossing crumbs keeps everything balanced.
So nothing was actually resolved. She also lied about not forcing me to see him again.
I remember sitting in the car when John called one random Friday asking if I wanted to come over.
I was a little cold when I said no.
Not rude, just firm. My mom immediately got irritated. I reminded her she promised she wouldn't make me go anymore. She snapped at me, guilt-tripped me, and told me to call him back.
So I did. That weekend was awful.
John tried to debate me on his sexist beliefs like it was some intellectual sport. He said I was too sensitive about his inappropriate jokes and stories. Then we got into an argument about women's workout clothes. We saw a couple biking in his neighborhood. The woman was wearing leggings and a crop top. John commented that she was trying to get some. I told him she was clearly just exercising and that the guy with her was probably her boyfriend, and she looked at least 10 years younger than him anyway.
He said that didn't matter.
According to him, women only wear workout clothes to attract men and get laid. I asked him directly, so when I wear workout clothes to exercise and lose weight to be healthier, I'm trying to get a man's attention.
He said yes. That was it.
Whatever respect I had left for him disappeared right there. He spent the rest of the weekend insulting and disrespecting his own wife. And even though I've always felt awkward around her, I found myself thinking she deserved better. I almost wish I'd known what kind of man he was years ago so I could have warned her.
No woman deserves someone like him. But the worst part, I feel like I don't have a father figure anymore.
A few weeks ago, I had a conversation with my mom about adoption.
I said that as an adult, I'd rather adopt than give birth.
She said she wouldn't want someone else's dirty kids in her home and that it would be hard to love grandkids who don't look like her. It was a weird conversation for a 16-year-old, but it happened.
I asked my stepdad what he thought.
That's when I realized why he doesn't want to adopt me.
He said adopted kids aren't the same as biological ones. That they aren't as lovable. That broke something in me. All this time, he's called me his daughter. He tells people he loves me. But now I know there's a difference in his mind. A line I can't cross because I don't share his DNA. And then my cousins told me something worse. A few years ago, my stepdad cheated on my mom. She stayed. She divorced John because of infidelity, but forgave my stepdad for the same thing. No one told me. I've been living with a man who did the exact thing that destroyed my family the first time. John's cheating ruined my childhood. And now I find out my stepdad did it too. Before this weekend, I was laughing with him. Now I don't even know how to look at him. I'm staying with my grandma more lately. It gives me space to process everything before I have to see him again. Right now, I feel like every father figure I had just collapsed at once. How do I cope with feeling abandoned by my biological dad without letting it define my self-worth? How do I deal with a parent who constantly disrespects my boundaries and beliefs? How can I protect my peace when my mom forces contact I'm not comfortable with? How do I process losing trust in my stepdad after learning things that changed how I see him? Is it wrong to emotionally distance myself from both of them? How do I get support when therapy isn't an option right now? Any advice would be helpful. Also, if you have reached here, thank you so very much. Please do subscribe. We'll tell updates from OP.